Oh, good evening. My name is Arthur Flug, and I'm the Executive Director of the Harriet and Kenneth Kupferberg Holocaust Center at Queensborough Community College. I'd like to welcome you all this evening. I usually tell my students that during the past 65 years, 2 days, holidays, days of commemoration have been added to our calendar. One is Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance. The second is September 11th, the 9/11 attack on the World Trade Center. And regretfully, we're here today because another day of commemoration and observance has been added to our calendar regarding the events that took place in Mumbai. I look out here and I look at the audience, and I'm very delighted and enthused that I see people sitting here wearing baseball caps, yarmulkes, turbans, field caps, and it shows the diverse response to the event we're having tonight, to the events that took place in Mumbai. We are very successful here at Queensborough Community College in maintaining a very, very strategic and diverse society, and a successful one. And the one person who is mainly responsible for that, I'd like to introduce to you now, is the president of Queensborough Community College, Dr. Eduardo J. Marti. Thank you.
Good evening. At the request of the Jewish Community Relations Council of New York and many other community organizations, we host a gathering in remembrance of the people who died or were injured in the horrible events of Mumbai. It is reassuring to partner with community organizations in times of needs. Queensborough Community College and our Kupferberg Holocaust Resource Center and Archives is a place where students and community members explore the devastating consequences of unbridled prejudice. The basis for a group of young men to mount an attack on innocent victims and to kill indiscriminately is the capacity of those young men to dehumanize the people of Mumbai, people of all creeds, people of all colors, and people of all nationalities. This is the consequence of prejudice. So let us once again reaffirm our commitment to education, not for the private gain, but for the public good. Let us once again reaffirm our commitment to speak out when we see bullying, when we see joking, or any other action that can escalate to a hate crime. Let us, one person at a time, be a beacon of civility in this very, very troubled world. You and our friends change people's lives on a daily basis. For us, teaching is the honorable profession. We have the pleasure of doing it on a day-to-day basis. But we all have much work to do. We have many to educate. So again, welcome to Queensborough Community College. And I am delighted to hear, or I want to be able to hear from a number of you. And in order to start the proceedings, let me introduce my good friend, Rabbi Michael Miller, the Executive Director of the Jewish Community Relations Council.
Thank you very much, President Marti. Thank you for so graciously hosting us in this extraordinary facility on a beautiful campus. A week has passed since the terror-driven massacre in Mumbai, and the wound is still very fresh and very raw. while our hearts are heavy, we cannot afford to remain silent. The range of our emotions, from grief to outrage, need to be expressed. But we gather here this evening to do just that, to remember and show solidarity with the more than 170 innocent victims of unbridled hatred. The speakers on our program come from many segments of New York society, from near and from very far, religious, communal, diplomatic, and political leaders. By joining together, we indeed display the triumph of good over evil. Each one of our speakers, as they conclude their remarks, will walk over to my right, to your left, and sign a statement against terror and Mumbai, which will be read to all of us at the end of the program. There are 4 paragraphs by 4 individuals. So before calling on the next speaker, let me ask President Marti to be the first signatory on the statement. President Meredith. Thank you. Our next speaker is the president of our organization, the Jewish Community Relations Council, Dr. Janice Shorenstein.
Good evening, everybody. To the roster of pain and tragedy, Bali, London, Madrid, New York, Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, another place has been added, Mumbai. The terrorists have clear intent to spread fear, chaos, and death. We have learned some painful lessons over the last number of years. The greatest challenge to terror is not to succumb to it, but to continue to go about our lives, forming bonds of friendship that span the divide between faiths, nations, and cultures. I stand here tonight as a New Yorker, as a citizen of a city that is a home to the broadest diversity in the world. It is this city and the way in which we live our lives that is the single greatest repudiation to the aspirations of terrorists. As a proud Jew, I am compelled to express the collective pain of my community at the brutal spectacle of Muslim radicals attacking a Hindu city of 19 million and targeting hundreds of individuals, including an unknown yet number of Jews. Our hearts go out to all of the victims, Hindu, Christian, Jewish, to all the families, and to the city of Mumbai. We know that, like New York, the people of Mumbai will resiliently return to their daily lives, never quite the same, but holding their heads high as citizens of the greatest city in the world's largest democracy. Among the many bonds between our 2 great cities, New York and Mumbai, we have added a layer of pain with an overlay of determination and courage. As we wrote to the Consul General Dayal last Friday, tonight we are all Indians.
As Dr. Shorenstein signs the statement, it's now my pleasure to call upon Dr. Uma Mysorekar, the president of the Hindu Temple Society of North America and one of our key partners in this event.
Good evening to all of you. President of the Queensborough Community College, Rabbi Michael Miller, and all the other members of JCRC, all the distinguished guests and my dear friends. We are assembled here this evening to show our solidarity in the light of the recent tragedy something which many of us have yet to sink. Just about a week ago, we were just listening as the events unfolded. And today we know the pain, and we also know the depth of the tragedy. In these days, where every day you face terrorism as a part of your life, our faith has taught us and will continue to teach us that being fearless and having the faith in the Lord is what makes you move on day to day with your face head up. We have discussed these issues many, many times over, and in many of the interfaith meetings. And I think we learn this from each tragedy, just like we learned after 9/11. Being fearless, determined, and focused is what will get us through this tragedy, not just now, but forever. One more thing I'd like to add, that no matter which part of the world is hit, no matter which group of people it hits, we are all pained just as much. We truthfully express our deepest condolences to all the Jewish people for the loss of the lovely people who served in India. And of course, all those rest of them who died, and most of all, those who were really tortured. I think that just pains you. We just hope and pray that the victims of this disaster will overcome this and move on with their lives, and we here strengthen their belief and their resilience by offering our prayers and our support. And I'm deeply grateful to the United States and to the rest of the world for their extraordinary support in this time of need. Thank you.
I'm pleased to present a member of the diplomatic community to address us this evening. The Consul for Community Affairs and Passports and Visas at the Consulate of India in New York, Sasi Kumar.
Good evening to you all. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this event who have shown an incredible amount of kindness in putting together this Evening of Remembrance. Obviously, the events of last week in Mumbai remind us that there is still many elements in the world who continue to threaten the very fabric of democratic societies all over the world. What happened in Mumbai cannot be seen merely as an attack against India. It is an attack against humanity. I say this because when someone targets an international hotel, a tourist spot, or a railway station, nationals of any one country or any one community alone are not affected. For this very reason, such attacks should be condemned by the international community in one voice. As in the case of earlier attacks taken place in India, in Jaipur, Bangalore, Ahmedabad, and Delhi, all evidence available so far trace the origins of these attacks to Pakistan, as their perpetrators came from that country and the controllers are all there. Government of India have asked the government of Pakistan to arrest the terrorists who have perpetrated these attacks and bring them to justice. We expect all friendly governments and the international community to ensure that this happens. Regardless of the physical destruction that has been perpetrated in Mumbai, there are two things that demonstrate that these elements of terror failed to achieve their desired goal. One has been the show of immense generosity and solidarity towards the people of India that has been pouring in from all corners of the world, especially from the United States. These events have only managed to strengthen the resolve of countries all over the world, which are founded on democratic principles to defeat the extreme ideological forces that were behind these heinous crimes. The second has been the display of the irrepressible spirit of the Indian people, who continue to demonstrate that they are not going to succumb to such unconscionable acts of violence or be bullied into changing how they live their lives. Such resilience is a hallmark of a people similar to that found here in the United States after 9/11, who have lived in a society that grants them the freedoms to pursue their dreams. However, today it is most important that we take a moment and say a prayer for all those lives were tragically lost last week and their families. Thank you.
We are joined as well, as I indicated earlier, by leaders in the political realm. In the federal government, our representatives in Congress from the city of New York are outstanding. Among them is one member of Congress who has spoken out tirelessly, condemning terror and advancing the ideals of democracy and freedom. And that is the congressman representing much of Queens, some of Brooklyn, but someone whom we call a very good friend. May I call to the microphone Representative Anthony Weiner.
Thank you very much, Michael, and I appreciate the many organizations that help make this evening of commemoration possible. You know, we take great pride in New York City, and perhaps greatest pride of all in Queens, focusing on our diversity. It is a source of great pride, the places that we came from. It's a source of great pride in understanding the different ways we worship, the different customs we follow. It is something that we recognize here in New York and in the United States is part of what it means to be an American. That we come here to make a better life, but we never really forget the part of the world that we came from. We never forget the customs that we were raised following. But in the midst of all of that diversity, of all of that celebration of the fact that we root for different baseball teams, come from different neighborhoods, worship in different ways, there are these moments in our civic life when we realize, in fact, we are a community of one. Such a moment arrived on September 11, 2001. At that moment, we forgot, perhaps, what nation our great-grandfathers came from, what way that we worshipped on a particular day, and we realized that we were unified in our commitment to one another, making sure we could heal, making sure that we remember the lessons, making sure that we took care of those that were mourning. Another day arrived on the attacks on Mumbai. We realized that the attacks that took place there unified us once again around the common ideals that we share. And it also reminded us that there are some peoples in the world with whom we share values closer than perhaps to others. Our relationship with India is one that is based on common ideals. The ideals of democracy, the ideals of diversity, the ideals of religious diversity. We realized our friendship with India was one that was being more soundly bonded on that day than it had been in the past. We stand with them. We understand the pain, we understand the fear, we understand the apprehension. We also understand something else. We understand in the midst of the commemorations and in the midst of the solidarity statements, there's something else. That there are people in the world who simply do not honor and value the same things we do. They're terrorists, and they must be killed. We have to recognize that our way of viewing the world, of saying that there are disputes and correct ways of dealing with them and arguments, however intense, are not shared by those who would walk into a coffee shop and start shooting, are not shared by those who would strap dynamite to their chest and walk into a cafe in Tel Aviv, are not shared by those who would fly a plane into a building in Manhattan. To those people, we have to remember we have to be vigilant to find them, to give them no place to hide, to bring them to justice, and if necessary, to kill them. And we need to realize that today as well. We in the United States of America are looking for allies around the world who understand it's their responsibility, that if there's terrorism going on within their borders, they have to root it out and end it. And they have to understand the message of President-elect Barack Obama, that if you're unable to do it, or unwilling to do it, we will do it for you. That is a lesson in South Asia, that is a lesson in the Middle East, that is a lesson that we understand all too well in the United States Congress. But today is a day of commemoration and of mourning. Today we stand with the victims of the Mumbai massacre. We take our pledge to do everything possible to make sure that it does not happen again. We make sure that we take an extra moment to say a prayer for those who are still struggling, hanging on to life after that attack. And we take a moment to make ourselves understand that Mumbai's fight is our fight. May God bless the victims of the Mumbai massacre. May God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. When over 170 innocent individuals are mowed down, sometimes we lose sight of the individual who is killed. We felt it was important as we organized this event that we'd have some speakers whose friends were killed. So not just reading about them in newspapers or hearing about them on television and the radio, but having somebody who knew them well come to our microphone and share with us their experiences with those individuals, who they were, what they stood for, what they did in their lives. It's now my pleasure to call upon Rabbi Yosef Losovsky, the Rabbi and Director of the Chabad House of Northeast Queens. There are thousands of Chabad houses around the world. The Chabad House in Mumbai was the target of these terrorists. A fellow Chabad House director will now talk to us about who it was whom they murdered. Rabbi Losovsky.
Good evening, community leaders, dignitaries, elected officials, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to offer my heartfelt condolences for the victims of the Mumbai massacre. Close to 200 innocent men, women, and children lost their lives in this horrific attack, plus the countless others who were injured. It is impossible to truly comfort and console the survivors and their families in the face of this atrocity. All we can do is stand by their side, feel their pain, and make sure that they know how much we care. As a Chabad rabbi, the attack struck very close to home. Rabbi Gabby and Rivka Holzberg were part of my family. We were not related physically, but we shared the same worldview and way of life. Our revered spiritual leader, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, of blessed memory, embarked on a unique mission. He envisioned a world the way God meant it to be, a world of peace, a world of unity, a world where all of mankind share the same goal of spreading goodness and kindness throughout. To that end, he created a spiritual Peace Corps, sending emissaries, young families like the Holzbergs, to far-flung corners of the globe to set up Chabad houses. Over the last week, we heard the term Chabad house over and over again. A Chabad house is a place where all people are welcome. If it's a meal that you need, or a place to sleep, a service to attend, the Chabad house is open to all. Rabbi Gabby Holzberg grew up in Crown Heights, a few blocks away from where I lived, and a truly sweet soul he was. A very gentle and humble man, always looking to help someone in need. Together with his wife Rivka, the Holzberg family created a beautiful Chabad house in Mumbai, and in the few short years that they were there, had reached out and assisted thousands. The eyes of the world were riveted to the various media outlets as they covered this terrible attack. For 2 days, we lived in hope of a peaceful outcome. However, on Friday afternoon, those hopes were dashed when we received confirmation that all in the Chabad house were dead. Our hearts were broken as we watched a young Indian orphan lying in a hospital bed, not even aware that his parents and family were killed. At the memorial service held in an ancient synagogue in Mumbai, before the bodies were flown to Israel for burial, we watched the gut-wrenching scene of the young orphan Moshe crying out again and again, "Ima, Ima, Mommy, Mommy." How can we not cry bitter tears knowing that young Moshe will never again see his dear mother? I was asked on national radio on Friday what my feelings were about retribution and revenge. I am sure that the appropriate measures will be taken by the authorities to find and destroy those responsible. But for average citizens of the world, we have been taught by the Rebbe that we must fight back. The terrorists are doing everything they can to bring as much darkness and pain into the world. It is our holy duty to respond with an overwhelming show of force. All of us must commit to performing as many acts of goodness and kindness as possible. Those good deeds are our weapons. Those good deeds will bring so much light and joy into the world that the darkness and pain will disappear. This is the best way to memorialize the victims of the Mumbai massacre. It is my fervent wish and prayer that Almighty God have mercy on all of us and usher in an age of true peace and tranquility for all of mankind. Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi Lasowski, for your beautiful and moving words. We are honored here this evening, as I indicated, individuals from a variety of worlds and segments of our society. We've heard from the diplomat from the Indian consulate. We're now going to hear from the chief diplomat of the Israeli consulate. Those who were hunted down and killed and murdered in the Chabad house, for the most part, were citizens of Israel. We have with us this evening the Consul General of the State of Israel, the Honorable Asaf Sharif, Ambassador of Israel.
Good evening. Last week we witnessed one of the most brutal terror acts in recent years. On behalf of the government of Israel and the state of Israel, I want to express condolences to the government of India, to its people, and of course to the families of the victims. Unfortunately, there are still people who keep living in denial that we are in a war between moderates and extremists. Some of the most respected newspapers in the world and the most respected television network, including in the United States, refuse to call it a terror act. They call the people militants, they call them gunmen. They refuse to call them terrorists. People who go to coffee shop and shoot at innocent people are not militants. People who go into hotels looking for American passport or British passport or Israeli passport are not gunmen. People who are going into Chabad house, killing innocent people, including a pregnant woman, Rivki Holzberg, are terrorists. There's no other word. Tom Friedman wrote yesterday that he was anxious to see the reaction if some Indian citizen would go to Pakistan and kill innocent Muslims. And I want to add to us, could you imagine a Jewish guy going into a mosque, killing the Mufti and his wife and other innocent people? What would be the reaction? How would people speak on that occasion? The people who died in Chabad house died because they were Jews. There's no other reason. The terrorists planned to go into Chabad house. They knew where it is. They had the best intelligence. Some people think they rented a house just across the Chabad house. And they got in and they killed most of the people there immediately just because they were Jews. People who kill people, other people because of their religion are terrorists. There's no other word. When I read all the media this week, there's one optimistic thing I learned. There's the Holzberg couple had a son, Moshe, who was saved by his Indian nanny, Sandra. Right now, Moshe all he has is Sandra. So the government of Israel offered her an Israeli citizenship. She refused. She said, I'm going to Israel just for 2 years until Moshe will be okay. But my destiny is to go back to India and to work for Chabad house. And when the journalist asked her, do you think they will be open? This lady who never heard about Jews or the Chabad 2 years ago said, of course they will. This is the house of Gabi and Rivki. And they will be open. And I think this is the strongest message we can send to the terrorists, that we will continue to live our life, and Chabad house will be open, and Sandra will go back to live there, and there will be a Chabad house in Mumbai. And we will continue to live our life according to our faith and will, and we will win. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. We have a number of guests with us this evening who might not be able to stay till the end of the program. I want to acknowledge one of them at this point, and that is New York City Council member Peter Vallone Jr. Thank you very much for joining us. It's now my privilege to call upon Naresh Jain, a board member at the Federation of Jain Associations in North America and the Council for a Parliament of World's Religions, who also lost a friend last week.
Thank you. Distinguished guests and friends, during last Thanksgiving weekend, our attention was focused on the tragic happenings in Mumbai. My close friend Asha Mehta's brother and sister-in-law, Mr. Sunil and Mrs. Reshma Parikh, were having dinner in Oberoi Trident Hotel. They were taken hostages by the terrorists. Their family was glued to the TV for 3 days. They were ruthlessly shot dead, and the family learned the sad news after agony of 3 days. My friend's family is extensively engaged in charitable work in India, and particularly Mumbai. Their food project in Mumbai feeds over 6,000 children every day. to foster education and reduce dropout rates in the schools. Our Jain community had honored them with Excellence Award during past April. They were also honored by Smile Train in past October for cleft lip surgeries in India. They informed me that they will assist in educating the needy children of the hotel and hospital staff who lost their lives. It is such a nice family. What did they do to deserve this? An innocent couple was at the wrong place at the wrong time. The Jain community condemns the unprovoked terrorist attacks on innocent civilians in Mumbai. The victims belong to many religions and many countries. Since September 11, many other cities have been victims of terrorism, including Madrid, London, Jaipur, Delhi, and many others. The government and community leaders must act to put the terrorists out of business. Our hearts go out to those who have died, those who are injured, and those who mourn. I also hope that these cruel acts of violence will deepen our resolve to work more diligently to build stronger bridges of respect and understanding. Thank you.
We all know that the perpetrators of last week's violence were radical Islamists, a minority, a distinct minority within Islam. What's most important here in New York is that we have many friends in the Muslim community. One of them is Imam Shamsi Ali, the director of Jamaica Muslim Center and chairman of the Masjid al-Hikmah of Astoria, who will be speaking to us now. Imam?
Shalom Alaikum, Assalamu Alaikum, and may peace and blessings of God be unto all of you. I'm indeed touched with that introduction, Michael. A few weeks ago, I was invited to speak to the commemoration of Christianic Holocaust, and I was really touched. I was really feeling pains for what had happened. And tonight again, I'm feeling that pains, what happened in the last few days in Mumbai. So let me begin by saying, once again, I join in the speakers to express and convey my heartfelt condolences and deep sorrow to our friends who are victimized by this terrorist attack. Our condolences to India, governments and people, and in particular I'd like to express my sorrow and solidarity to Rabbi Gabriel and his family. May God have blessed him and continuously bless him. I'm sure that those people died physically, but they are indeed alive. Now, my friends, last Thursday, while I was waiting for my wife to finish the cooking because it's Thanksgiving Day, and I was watching CNN, and suddenly I found that something tragic happens in India. I called Dr. Uma, but I couldn't find her. Someone told me that she's down there because the mayor is coming. I could not reach her. I really said to my kids, I'm sorry kids, I have to leave. And I went to her and I saw her. And I say, Dr. Uma, you're like my older sister, and your pain is my own pain. So my friends, the attack on innocent civilians in Mumbai once again is a clear attack on all of us. It's a clear attack on all religions and civilizations. It's a clear attack on all people who have sense. This senseless attack has no God and has no religion. As the Indonesian origins, we experienced that embodied a few years ago. And the majority of those who died in that terrorist attacks are Muslims. The majority, those who have been victimized throughout the years of these terrorist attacks, in fact, are Muslims. So I came to conclusions that as a Muslims, I have to put myself in the front line to condemn in a very clear tone of any terrorism, of any terrorist attack. Because again, terrorists do not know God, and they are simply enemies of all religions and civilizations. The very challenge is here that do we allow these terrorists to undermine and defeat us? Because the very purpose of these terrorists is, number one, to instill fear and distrust among the people and to disunite us. And if they succeed in disuniting us, it does mean they succeed. And so, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that tonight is not only the night of condemnation, it's not only condemning, it's a night to come back and to be united so that we can stand together forever against this terrorist attack. May God Almighty again bless all the victims, and may God Almighty strengthen the families. Thank you.
To introduce our next speaker, I'd like to call on the immediate past president of the Queens Jewish Community Council, Jan Fenster. The Queens Jewish Community Council has been pivotal in the execution of this event here this evening, the organization of the event, particularly the role that was played by their outstanding executive director, Cynthia Zaliski. She deserves a round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, Jan Fenster.
Thank you, Michael. Distinguished guests and friends, we are very lucky in the borough of Queens that our borough president, Helen Marshall, established immediately upon becoming borough president a General Assembly, which is comprised of members of the multi-ethnic community of Queens, and we are the most diversified in ethnicity and unified in action, as is illustrated tonight. We at Queens Jewish Community Council are very proud that one of those members is a member of our board of directors, and he is the president of the Indian Jewish Congregation of the United States of America, Romeo Daniel.
Good evening, Shalom and Namaste. I was born in Mumbai, India, which makes me Indian. And my parents were Jewish, that makes me Jewish. And I cherish both these heritages equally and dearly. Whilst we Jews have lived in India for more than 2,000 years, having spent a life of harmony and coexistence with all faiths, this peaceful existence has been shattered, and the rich history has become bloody. What did these terrorists want? They wanted to hurt and embarrass India. They wanted to hurt India's economy. Jealous of India's growing prosperity. India is a success story with millions of well-educated people forming the backbone of the country. We have some of the finest educational institutions in the world. But in the realm of terror, guilt is not easy to determine, and retaliation is even more difficult. So they attacked Indians. They attacked the Americans, they attacked the British, they attacked communities, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Jains. They attack them because they come from successful democracies. So they attack them in their weakest spots. The hotels, the restaurants, the hospitals, the railway stations, all easy targets for cowards and sadists who struck Mumbai to kill people. How can you reason with such madness? But why would anybody want to strike Chabad House? Housing Rabbi Gabriel Noach Hotzberg, his 5 months pregnant wife Rivka, who has 2 other children. There was an Israeli Benzian crewman, a grandmother, Yocheved Orpaz, a Mexican making Aliyah to Israel, Norma Rabinovich. It was just plain hatred. Kill the Israelis, kill the Jews. Break the good relations which have been built up between India and Israel. The Chabad building was described by the New York Times as an accidental hostage scene. And BBC was even better. They said it's an office building. I know Bombay well, Mumbai. I know the area well. My college was right opposite, almost opposite the Taj Mahal Hotel. This building is just a modest building. And it was not an accident that a nondescript building was accidentally found by the terrorists, where hostages who became victims were tortured, mutilated, and killed. We do not fear these warped terrorists and their masters, who will finally fade into oblivion and never remembered. But let me just tell you a small story, which probably many of you may have read, which goes back in history. One of the greatest kings of the southern part of India, from the state of Mysore, Tipu Sultan, a Muslim king governing a large Hindu population with absolute fairness. During the Second Mysore War in 1780, he was fighting against the British East India Company. That war was lost by the British. Several prisoners were taken by Tipu Sultan and his army, many of them belonging to the Bene Israel Jewish community, a community which I belong to. The outcome for these prisoners would have been that they would have been put to the sword. They would have been killed. But when they were brought to his court, Tipu Sultan's mother told her son to spare the lives of the Bene Israel, the Jews, as they are people of the covenant and who are spoken of in glowing terms in the Quran. Samuel Ezekiel Devekar, one of the prisoners released by Tipu Sultan, came back to Mumbai. He built a synagogue and he called it the Shar Hashemayim Synagogue, the Gate of Mercy, because Tipu Sultan was merciful. And this synagogue, built in 1796, the first synagogue built by the Bene Israel, is right in the heart of the Muslim area, like all the other synagogues which we have in Bombay. And that synagogue is still being used. We have the same forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Torture and killing is not prescribed in any holy book. 3 times a day, every Jew says a prayer silently, the Amidah, the standing prayer, where we say, "May all wickedness perish instantly. May all the enemies soon be cut down. O Lord, speedily uproot and crush the arrogant. Cast them down and humble them speedily in our days." Any Jew here would know this is from the Amidah. May the Almighty give us strength to all those families who have to bear the loss of their loved ones, because we grieve with them. We have never had a Holocaust in India. We do not want it to come now from foreign soils, bringing a Holocaust to India. India has never treated us, there's never been anti-Semitism. We've been proud of that. We're proud still to be of Indian origin. Just a small prayer. May the Almighty, who creates peace in the high heavens, create peace for all of us on earth. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. As Mr. Daniel indicated, the targets of the terrorists were Hindus, Jains, Jews, and Christians. Representing the Christian faith in our program is the Reverend Skip LaRue, Jr., Executive Director of the Queens Federation of Churches. Reverend LaRue.
My sisters and brothers, grace and peace be unto you. I stand here as a representative of the Christian churches here in Queens, both for the Queens Federation of Churches and the Council of Churches of the City of New York, to express our outrage at what has happened these past days, half a world away, but also our condolences and sympathy, especially to those families who have suffered loss in death or in suffering. It is difficult for any of us in a civilized way to look at these uncivilized behaviors calmly. But we recognize that God, in creating us, has first of all lifted human life to be of such high spiritual and holy purpose that we wonder what can motivate someone to defile it in so brutal a way. Terrorism is something that all of us must vigilantly oppose, but we must oppose it by lifting up justice and peace, to be able to lay such a firm soil of justice that peace can take root and grow. It has been said earlier this evening from this platform that our task is to do good in the face of those who have done evil. And I put an exclamation mark behind that, because our task as people of faith, of each faith that speaks in solidarity tonight, we must see the better side, the better angels of our lives, and to be able to withstand terrorism by doing good. If the so-called war on terrorism of these last 7 years has shown anything, it is that guns and bombs, walls and locks and steel doors don't provide the security we long for. But only our trust in God and our working diligently for justice, because where one death has occurred, it is a death within our family. And where there is injustice anywhere, there is injustice everywhere. And so our call for solidarity is for us to stand together as one people, united for peace, rooted in justice. 6 weeks ago, the Queens Federation of Churches assembled some hundreds of people here in the borough to provide a citation for faithful service to a score of individuals nominated by their pastors. We've been doing this for several years now. And obviously without any expectation that the occurrences of the past week would happen. It is, I think, poignant for us to lift up at this time that one of those honorees was a man recently immigrated from Pakistan who was selected for this honor in his congregation by his pastor who presented the award, who was a pastor from India. It was a moving moment then, and I think it's a moving moment tonight as we of many faiths speak of one voice in order that we may affirm life and affirm justice in the face of such inhumane injustice.
Thank you, Reverend LaRue. This borough of Queens is a borough of diversity. The woman who serves as the president of this borough celebrates that diversity every day. It is now my honor to call upon the president of the borough of Queens, the Honorable Helen Marshall.
Good evening, my brothers and sisters. Again, we gather here today to look at horrors that man has committed against man. It's not very pleasant, but thank God we have a place where we can gather and do this. We are all still reeling from the horrific events that occurred last week in Mumbai, in India, and the pain runs especially deep in our borough. I always say when tragedy strikes anywhere in the world, someone is left grieving in Queens. Our hearts go out to the families and friends of the hundreds of victims of last week's atrocities. In particular, we honor the memory of Rabbi Holtzberg and his wife, Rivka, and we pray for their 2-year-old son, Moishe. The nanny, seeing the mother and father on the ground dead, and the little 2-year-old child standing in the middle, she picked up that baby. It was like defying the world. And she said, I dare you to shoot me with this child in my arms. And as a result, she cut through. Sometimes we have to stand up for justice, even when the gun is being pointed at us. And that's exactly what she did. I was in California with my husband and I just got back last night. We go there every Thanksgiving to celebrate with my sister's family and my son's family. And I watched as this gentleman he taught people how to meditate, and he was describing his stay in the hotel when all of this happened. Of course, he lost very good friends, part of his team, and he described the horror of being in that hotel and seeing guns and fire and so on going on outside. There were other men in the room, and they barricaded the door with furniture. And they prayed for their lives, and part of their training is to meditate, which helped to get them through it. And he described the concern. Because of the fires, the room was filling with smoke. Then they had to break the window so that they could get fresh air. They didn't know what to do, but they knew that they had to stay alive. And fortunately, all of them did. And they still had to come out under a range of bullets, but they got out. And it was a good thing that they did. Anyone who was saved is wonderful. And they got out to tell the story. It was a horrible, horrible feeling. It reminded me certainly of 9/11. Our hearts go out to the families and friends and hundreds of victims of last week's atrocities. In particular, we honor the memory of Rabbi Holtzberg and his wife Rivka, and we pray for their 2-year-old son, Moshe. I'm sorry to repeat that. I got a little carried away. Terrorism is a brutal reality of the 21st century. You know, while I was there, my husband wants to watch more movies and so on, and we were looking at World War II. World War II was soldier to soldier. Now it's soldier to anyone. Children, women, old people, anyone. Innocent people. It's a different kind of world. Terrorism is a brutal reality of the 21st century. As Americans, we are protected from that reality until September the 11th. Attacks brought it to our doorstep. And we've had to live with violence for a very long time. And the results of that bipartisan commission released today suggest that terrorism is a plague which we all will be fighting for many years to come. It's predicted in 5 years, within the next 5 years, there will be another terrorism attack on America. Yet, even in this moment of darkness, we can see the light of hope. Just look around this room, and we are people of different races, ethnicities, and religions, and we live together, work together, celebrate together, and also mourn together. And we are involved in various efforts to promote greater understanding within and between our communities. This is what Queens is all about. And it's also what New York City and the United States of America stand for. I'm grateful to my friend Rabbi Michael Miller of the JCRC of New York for spearheading this evening's event. Michael is a man of peace. He's a man who took my husband and I and the whole delegation all through Israel. He never once told me he was a rabbi. He just wanted to be a plain, ordinary guy. Well, he's a heck of a lot more than a plain, ordinary guy. I thank God for him every single day. Please give me that. I applaud all the co-sponsors of this program, our Jewish and South Asian colleagues, as well as our Muslim and Christian allies. Just heard from Fritz, the head of our Protestant, our Federation of Churches for the Borough of Queens.
Above all, I am proud that Queens is the home of the Kupferberg Holocaust Resource Center under the excellent leadership of Dr. Arthur Flug. The center has become a place where young people learn about the greatest tragedies of all times, the Holocaust. And they learn why, even today, we must be vigilant against bigotry of any kind. The Holocaust Center is not a museum. Yes, we will see a lot of things in that museum. We will see a lot of things in the Holocaust Center, but it's a live museum where it's going to live, because every time that we have to face this, and of course we're going to be training people, young people, that they can't go that route. And it's the wrong way to live. So that it's a living center, which I think we could pay no greater tribute than those who were lost in the Holocaust. It gives me great satisfaction to tell you that together with the Holocaust Resource Center, the New York City Department of Education, the New York State Division of Human Rights, I am introducing a comprehensive anti-bias curriculum in our city schools. Through this initiative, teachers and administrators will have the tools they need to educate their students about bias crimes and to address the root cause of hatred before it turns to violence. May Queens and New York City set an example of peaceful coexistence for the rest of the world. May we see an end to terrorism in our lifetimes. That is my prayer. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Madam President. The Jewish Community Relations Council has many, many friends in the non-Jewish world and partners in our efforts through our Intergroup Relations Department, headed so ably by Bob Kaplan. Among those partners is a gentleman by the name of Mohammed Razvi, as his first name indicates. He's a member of the Islamic faith. He's also a native of Pakistan. We consider Mo Razvi to be part of our family. He's one of us. And we've asked him this evening to speak to us, particularly since those who committed the atrocities in India last week were from Pakistan and were Muslims. There are no Mo Razvi. Ladies and gentlemen, Mohammed Razvi.
I'm kind of short. Good evening. I want to thank Michael and the JCRC. And when this tragedy occurred, it literally brought me back to 9/11. Because while I was working in one of my father's businesses, I seen the buildings falling down from my place in Brooklyn. And I had to turn to my daughter and my daughters and explain to them. And I tried to find out myself how to explain to them that the people who did this, they claim to be Muslims. They have nothing to do with Islam. My daughters faced such hatred within the schools because they're practicing Muslims. My daughters wear their scarves. One of my daughters was pushed down. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to affect my kids. This is going to affect my whole family. Now, things happen with other cities, Madrid and so forth. And clearly, they use that excuse that, oh, we're Islamist or we're this or this, which has nothing to do with Islam. And now, these individuals who committed these atrocities in India, it was heartbreaking to hear someone say, oh, they might be Pakistanis. And it's like, when I talk to my kids or I talk to anyone, I said, these people they're not human because they have taken one life. Even one life if you take, that means you're inhumane. And these are the things that I've been expressing throughout the community, getting leaders together, because, it was Thanksgiving weekend, and I was like, what do we do? What do we do? We have to get the people together. And Monday, with JCRC, with Michael's help and Rabbi Potasnik's help, we were able to get almost 70 organizations together, standing side by side, different faiths, condemning and praying for the victims. I just came today, just now, from Staten Island, where another person who was victimized, a person who was beaten with a baseball bat because he was African American and Obama just had one. I stood there and I lit the candle for this young man. And it's all about hate. You know, hate is something that the kids or people are not born with. That's something that they're pushed into, or, you know, those are the things that they're perpetuated through. Perhaps these types of schools that they have. Perhaps it's a conversation that they're having with their family members. I think we have to think to ourselves, how do we get to not just the children, but to start to promote understanding? I mean, as we're here, I'm so very happy that Michael was able to bring all these community leaders in a room like this together. You know, many Sikhs were attacked. Individuals were burned in their stores. I could not believe it, just because they thought that these individuals are Muslim. Many individuals attack each other based on hatred, which is perpetuated either through things that they see or they hear, when they don't even know who that neighbor is. I mean, when I learned, when I was starting this organization and working with Michael and Bob and Sally Goodgold, I was like, oh my God. When I went to Israel, when I seen the atrocities that had occurred, I had never seen something like that. I was like, oh my God. It's, you know, heartbreaking. Then when I seen the children on one side, you know, they're playing basketball under a steel roof and always in fear that something's going to come down. A rocket's going to come and might hit them. I was like, oh my God, look at these kids, how they have to live. Always under fear. And on the other side of the fence, they had nothing. But this is something we have to figure out, how to get our kids, because these were young kids. That's what I looked at. That's what I'm hearing. They were like 20, in their 20s. They should have been in college. They should have been partying. Just making a joke about partying. But anyhow, I mean, what we have to do, and I think this is where we have to focus, is get to these kids before the other guys do. That's what we got to focus on. And we have to get to them now. And my deepest condolences to the families, because I can't explain to you, every time when these attacks happen, it brings me back to Pakistan, because I did not know that when I was 5 years old, when there was a blast in the mosque that I was attending, that was one of those attacks. I sat there and I said, Mom, do you remember when I was 5 years old? I remember I was crying in the mosque and there was smoke everywhere. What was that? She goes, that was these same guys attacking us. That's why we left. And then 9/11 happened here. There is truly no boundaries for these terrorists. But it's going to take all of us working together, hand in hand, to really get to them. Thank you.
As we transition to the lighting of candles, we have two more presenters. The first is Ruthie Golan, who is a personal friend of Rabbi Mrs. Holzberg, who spent quite a period of time at the Chabad House in Mumbai. And then we're going to call upon Ross Wallenstein, the special assistant to Governor Patterson, to read a statement from Governor Patterson, and then Ross is going to light the first candle. First, let us hear from Ruthie. Ruthie Golan.
Thank you for giving me the privilege and the honor to talk about my friends Rabbi Gabi and Rivki Holzberg. Before I begin, I would like to express my condolences to the friends and families of all of the victims and to caring individuals across the globe who were touched by this horrendous tragedy. Also, a big thank you to the organizations for bringing all of our communities together and showing that we are one and stand united as a people, regardless of our religion or our faith. I'm sure Rifki and Gabi would have been touched by this memorial service and the outreach of our united community. While their mission as Chabad emissaries was related to Jews, they would help everyone and anyone, assisting strangers as though they were a part of their own family. Yes, Gabi and Rifki were the epitome of tzaddikim, which in English means righteous people. The values that we all aspire to, they epitomized. Unconditionally giving, loving, and always trying to do what they could to make the world a better place. And perhaps this is why I treasure my relationship with them. While shorter than many of my other friendships, I felt as if I knew Gabi and Rifki a lifetime. My journey with the Holtzberg starts in April. Having worked as an investment banker for Bear Stearns, I left on a several-month journey to India to escape Wall Street and find spiritual enlightenment. After traveling to an ashram, I went to Mumbai, where the Chabad house quickly became my home away from home. Gabi and Rifki had established and ran the Chabad house in Mumbai, leaving a life of comfort and familiarity. They started Chabad Mumbai in one small room and eventually grew to a 6-story townhouse. Chabad house offers hundreds of Jewish travelers a place to dine on kosher food, stay overnight, partake in any level of religious observance, and meet other fellow travelers. It was a community and a home, and it was Gabi and Rifki's home, and it was open to everyone. At the dining table, I would see businessmen, backpackers, students, and even ex-prisoners sitting together at a table as equals, as Gabi and Rifki accepted everyone who walked through the door, and at any time. 7 days a week, they welcomed visitors. There was no room for personal downtime, nor had they had any true personal possessions, for they had shared everything with all of the visitors who had come there. From the moment I walked in Chabad, I was touched by Rifki's warmth and motherliness. A motherliness that extended beyond caring for Moshe, her 2-year-old son, but for me and the countless of other visitors who walked through that door. With Moshe always on her hip, she would walk around the dining room, taking an interest in each and every person as though they were a lost relative she was reuniting with. Her motherliness was never ending. She would bake us fresh cookies, cheer us up, and all the while being completely attentive to Moshe, as though he were an extension of her body. Rifki and I sat together countless hours and talked, and though we came from 2 different worlds, we had a deep connection based on a shared sense of values. I was always in awe of her unconditional kindness, compassion, and wisdom, and quickly recognized that her valor was only matched by Gabi's. At the dining room, I would always sit facing Gabi, as though I was watching a lecture or learning from a great sage. During the meal, he would share his stories, and I would listen intently, as if I was listening to an elderly wise man and not a 28-year-old man. A true Torah scholar, his mastery earned him respect, and yet he was always so very humble. His office, where he spent much of his time, was the smallest room in the townhouse, perhaps the size of a closet. And despite his learnings, he always believed in an ongoing pursuit of knowledge, seeking to learn something from every encounter, and all the while making others feel included and special by going around the table each Friday night and asking folks to share a personal story. Never once through Rifki's bright smile or Gabi's upbeat mood would you have sensed the tragedies that had besieged the Holtzbergs. Just a few years ago, Gabi and Rifki's eldest son died of a genetic disorder. Despite this unbearable loss, Gabi and Rifki were always positive and only mentioned the loss of their son as a means to provide comfort and hope to others facing similar challenges. Their lives were truly devoted to a higher cause of helping others. And in this process, I don't believe they realized how many hundreds, if not thousands, of lives they touched. The one light of their tragic story is the miraculous rescue of their son Moshe by Sandra, Chabad's cook. It is still hard for me to juxtapose the smiles and laughter I saw in him when he played with or sat on Rifki's lap, with the horrific images of him yelling "Mommy, Mommy" in Hebrew at a memorial service last week, and knowing tragically that his mommy is never coming back. At the appropriate time when Moshe is older, I will reach out to him and share, like I've done with you, the lasting impact of Gabi and Rifki Holtzberg and the impact that they've left upon me. Let their legacy inspire us to continue in their tradition and do what we can to make the world a better place. Gabi and Rifki taught us that every act of kindness, no matter how large or small, matters and can make a meaningful difference in the lives of others. Thank you.
Pleasure to call upon Ross Wallenstein, the Assistant to the Governor for Community Affairs, to read a message from the Governor. Ross?
Good evening. Thanks for allowing me to speak here tonight on behalf of Governor David Patterson. I just want to thank Michael Miller and the JCRC and of course Dr. Marti for letting us hold this here tonight. And thank you all for attending. If you'll bear with me real quick, I'll read a letter from Governor Patterson. Dear friends, it is with profound sadness that I send greetings to everyone gathered at Queensborough Community College for an evening of remembrance in solidarity with Mumbai. I regret that I could not be with you on this somber occasion, but join you in pledging support for the city of Mumbai in the wake of recent terrorist attacks. Tonight, we mourn the tragic deaths of those whose lives were lost due to senseless acts of terror. Since last week's atrocities, the world, our nation, and our state have gathered in prayer for the victims and their families. All New Yorkers were awakened to the reality of terrorism over 7 years ago, and we commiserate with the people of India, home to another multicultural democracy and a vibrant financial capital. Just as the democracies of the world supported our recovery from 9/11, we will keep India and Mumbai and their strong, resilient people in our thoughts in the coming months and beyond. On behalf of all the citizens of New York, I join with those gathered in expressing solidarity for Mumbai as it recovers from these attacks and extend heartfelt sympathies to the families of the victims from India, as well as from the United States and around the world. Sincerely, Governor David A. Patterson. Thank you.
We now commence with the lighting of memorial candles. The lighting of the candles will be accompanied by music played by our band this evening, Nachshon's Leap, a multi-faith band. The first candle will be lit by Ross Wallenstein on behalf of Governor Patterson. Assemblyman Rory Lansman to step forward and to light a candle. Borough President, Ellen Marshall. Bishop Mitchell Taylor. Linda Sennett from the American Jewish Committee. Singh from the Sikh community. Dr. Uma Kusarapur. Soyoung Segredo, a member of the Human Rights Commission of Nassau County, representing the Korean community. Monsignor Guy Massey, from the Diocese of Queens and Brooklyn. President Eduardo Martini, Queensborough Community College. David Burrower, co-chair of JCRC's International Commission. Imam Shamsi Ali, Consul Kumar, is Rabbi Michael Yoshua here representing the Bukhari community? And if I can ask all of the speakers who are on the program to please come and join us up here, even though I don't have enough candles for you to light. If I can ask everybody to please rise. And if I can ask the band to please pause. Let's all remain standing for a moment of silence in reflection for all those who were so brutally murdered just a week ago. And after the minute of silence, we're going to call upon 4 individuals to read the 4 paragraphs in the statement. The first will be Dr. Kusumita P. Peterson, co-chair of the Interfaith Center of New York and professor of religious studies at St. Francis College. Dr. Uma Mysorekar, whom you've met, the executive director of the Hindu Temple Society of North America. Imam Shamsi Ali, the director of the Jamaica Muslim Center and chairman of the Masjid Al-Hikmah of Astoria. And David Borowich, the co-chair of our International Affairs Commission at the JCRC. Once again, we may please pause for a minute of silence.
We, the undersigned, condemn the heinous terrorist acts on Mumbai, India. We decry the senseless loss of life of the innocent victims. Our hearts go out to their families and loved ones. New Yorkers and Mumbaians share deep-seated pain, yet we also share a common determination and courage to resiliently resume daily life, though it will never be quite the same.
We declare our commitment to uphold the democratic ideals and human values we cherish. That measure of dedication, particularly in a city that is home to the broadest diversity in the world, is the single greatest repudiation to the nefarious aspirations of the terrorist.
We join together in this statement as a beacon of hope and as a voice of defiance to unbridled hatred. Indeed, we take personal responsibility to continue to build communal bridges that span the divide between faiths, nations, and cultures as we strive to strengthen the foundations of a society built on cooperation, understanding, and respect. May the memory victims be a blessing.
We thank all of you for joining us here this evening. Our organization has received a number of commendations from the speakers. It's not as deserved for the organization as it is for members of all of the organizations. But I do want to single out two members of JCRC staff, Indy Pupko and Rabbi Craig Miller, for the role that they have played. We thank you for joining us. Let us hope we don't have to join under these circumstances ever again. Have a good evening.